Hi, hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Series 5 wrap up. On my channel, we have watched the entire episodes of the 5th series with the Mad Doctor. We have arrived right here, right now. Today, we are going to talk about the series. We're going to answer questions of my Patreons, and we're going to look at my most liked and maybe also disliked episodes of the series. We're gonna talk about the characters. We are gonna talk about it all. But before we get into this, let me just explain real quick for the ones who haven't seen one of my earlier videos. This time I didn't ask my YouTube viewers for any Q&A questions because I do not have the time, unfortunately, with this series, with this video, to have a Q&A for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, as long as they usually are. We're gonna get there, hopefully, fingers crossed for Series 6, but this time we have to make it a little bit shorter. We are going to have questions from my Patreons though, and I am going to answer them. But before we get into this, I just want to talk about Series 5 in general, real quick, like a summary of everything that I have seen and what I do think of it. I think Series 5 in general has been a great series. While watching it, I didn't have the impression that it was so great. Hold on. But when I was going like through all the episodes that I have already watched and I rewatched them while editing, there were several episodes that I did like more while rewatching them than on my actual first watch. And also, while trying to get my PowerPoint presentation that you're about to see for Series 5, where I put all the episodes in an order, I really, and you will see that, was so surprised that there were so many episodes that I did like in this series. And I guess if I count them all together, it's this series with the most liked episodes of mine. Even though David is not in it, but it had so many great episodes. It had some lower ones that we're going to talk about, but most of the time, the episodes were just really good, really well written, really well done. The overall theme for the episode was so well done. I can't even describe it. I'm gonna try. But from the very start, from the very first time that we meet the crack in the wall, it's like this mysterious thing and we don't know what to expect of it. We just see it and we know that it's something that the doctor is afraid of and that the doctor doesn't know what to think of it because it's something like new in the universe and not even the doctor has ever seen. It's so mysterious. And in the very first episode, they already established this big bad for the finale, which I liked. I really loved to see that. And it was established like in a way where you knew already this would be finale stuff. In other Doctor Who series before that, we also have had themes very early on in a series that were made for the finale. But they, as far as I remember, were more subtle in the story and you didn't know already, like for example posters in the backgrounds or stuff scribbled in the backgrounds, and you could see them and you could maybe figure out that it would be something more important to the story than what it actually looks like, but not really. And when you watch the finale, you were like, oh my gosh, the bad wolf was there like throughout the whole series, and I never ever put it together like that. And in this series, the crack theme, it was there from the very start. And it was very obvious that this is going to be the theme, the topic for the whole series. And it was almost in every single episode. The one that I liked the most was the one with the TARDIS, with the keyhole, where it just zooms into the keyhole and you can see, oh my gosh, this is a crack. This looks so cool. It was really well done. So the theme of the series, the episodes, we're going to talk about which ones I didn't like as much. There were several episodes that I kind of don't really want to rewatch, maybe. I don't know. And also the characters. But before we get into the characters, we are going to get to the Q&A part of this video because we're going to talk about certain characters. Because there will be questions in the Q&A for several characters already. I do have all the questions on my cell phone. Just remember, there are not very many questions this time, just several Patreon comments that I got with questions, and I'm going to answer them. Before we do, just real quick, thank you so much for everyone who submitted questions. This time it wasn't very much, which is what I wanted it to be because I do not have the time for so many questions. But thank you so much for everyone who wrote a question under the post that I made on Patreon. Okay, the first question is from a user that doesn't want to be named. At least there is no hashtag. What episode of Series 5 were your favorites? We are going to get to this one because it's going to be on my episodes ranking list later. So let me get to that in a minute. And the second question from this person is, which episodes do you think the 10th Doctor David would have been great in, especially as well? Well, that's a question that I really want to answer. And the short answer would be like in all of them, obviously. And this is also something that I can tell you, I'm not over it. It's been a whole series. I'm not over it. I still miss him so dearly. I do want to have him back, and I don't know. Don't get me wrong here. Matt is not a bad doctor, and I'm gonna get into that with the next question, but David is just the doctor for me up until this point. There has been no better doctor for me than the David one. So I'd rather have him in all these episodes, but I have to choose. So I'm gonna say the very first one that comes to my mind has to be the Lodger one, because that story just screamed David to me when I saw it, because it was so much fun, light-hearted, like I remember David TV most of the time, and I don't know, it just screamed David to me. It was so much fun, and I would have loved to see him in it. So this is the first one. The second one would be the two-parter with the angels, and I think especially because he was a doctor with whom we have met the angels in the first place in the Blink episode, I would have loved to see the same actor in this other one. Also, there were parts in the story where I think the Matt actor really did a great job, and he had to be funny sometimes, but he had to be dead serious in other scenes. And I know that David is also able to change his demeanor if he has to, so I would have really loved to see him instead of Matt. And the third one that I'm choosing, if you take the two-parter as one, would be the Vincent and the Doctor episode. And I know this is a hard choice, because I really, other than with the two other episodes, do think that Matt was really perfect as a cast for this one. I don't know why, But if I think about the episode, the face of like Matt and the Vincent van Gogh, they are just in this episode. And it's very hard for me to think about another actor doing it, but I would have loved to see if I felt the same way with David in it. So this is why I would really love to have a comparison to that. We're never gonna get it, but it was perfect either way. I love the episode, but I'm not gonna talk about it too much because I don't want to take away from the rating that we're gonna get to. But just so you know, so those are my three episodes. The Lodger episode, the Angel two-parter, and the Vincent and the Doctor ones. Thank you so much for this question, by the way. Now we're going to get to the second person who submitted questions. It's Stephen from Patreon. Hi, and thank you, Stephen, for your questions. And I can't wait to answer them. Did you enjoy the way that Time of the Angels and Flesh and Stone added to the Weeping Angels mythology? Or did you think that it diluted their impact? So, thank you. And I do want to answer that question very much because when I watched the episode, when I was finished watching the episode right away, when I made the review and everything, I didn't have time to think much about the episode. But after having rewatched it for the edit, after having read the YouTube comments and the Patreon comments, I think my perspective on the episode has really changed a little. Because when I was watching it, I wasn't really aware that they did change the Angel's mechanic in this two-parter, which I don't know why I didn't notice. But for example, in Blink, if the angels touched you, they just sent you away, like just to another time zone, to another place on the planet Earth, and you were totally lost. Don't get me wrong, it was bad, but in the two-parter of the angels, they just kill you right away. And suddenly they were able to communicate via walkie-talkie. Is that what it's called in English? I mean, that's what it's called in German. And they were able to seduce people or luring people to their places where they want them to be so that they could kill them. Things have changed. And I think I do know why they have changed, but they have changed. And when it dawned on me while reading the comments, I was like, yeah, really, they did. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because I know even in the comments, people were discussing this matter because some people were like, yeah, I don't really care as long as the episode is entertaining. And other people were like, yeah, I wasn't entertained by the episode because I saw all those flaws and all those inconsistencies. I couldn't really like enjoy the episode for what it was because of that. So people were discussing, and I thought about on which side I was in this discussion, and I think I'm on the side of yes, I did enjoy the episode for what it was because luckily I didn't notice while watching it for the first time. But now that I'm aware of it, I don't think that, I mean, I still really like it, but I don't think I could like watch it with the same mindset again. I would always think about that. When it comes to those scenes, I'd always be like, oh yeah, why are they able to do that now? So it changed a little bit, I guess. But I have also thought about the reason why they did that, and maybe I found a solution that works for me at least. Because I was asking myself the question if I would want to see them for a third time in another episode in the later series. And my answer to that question was, I don't think so. But why, did I ask myself? Because when I saw them for the first time in Blink, I was really happy. That episode was so well made. And I loved those antagonists. And the second time we saw them, I was so happy to see them again. So why do I not really want to see them for a third time? And I'll tell you why. Because those angels, when they appeared for the first time, they were so mysterious. They seemed so dangerous, even if they couldn't kill people in the first part. But there was something about them that wasn't on the screen. You had no like full live action on the screen. The only thing that you saw were the statues that were not moving. You never saw them in live action. Sometimes when the actor turned around again, they were closer than before, but you never saw like a big fight or anything, like a battle. Nothing that was action like on the screen. Everything that was about the angels was in our minds and in the characters' minds. So that was something new, and that was something intriguing that I really enjoyed, playing with this concept of those beings. And it really worked well for the first time. But if you bring back creatures that do not really do anything on screen, you have to write a very special story for them to make them work. And this is what they did in the two-parter when they brought them back again. They put them in a place, in a dark cave, that was dark and a tight space, very claustrophobic atmosphere, and they put many more angels in this two-parter than in the first part. They were everywhere in this cave. They were omnipresent in this dangerous by itself because of the darkness and because of the cave that it was. By itself, these surroundings were dangerous and made us feel uneasy. And then they added those angels in this atmosphere that was already created by the place in which they exist. And then the sheer numbers of them being everywhere. And then they changed the angels so that they could really kill people, which was A, necessary to really let them be a threat to the people in the episode, and B, was necessary so that we didn't have many people who were just teleported around in space and time, and we had to like go and get them back somehow or show where they landed up or something like that. That we wanted to stay in this tight, claustrophobic atmosphere in the cave under the earth. That was necessary for the episode to be what it was, and for the angels to work for the second part. And that also includes the luring for the people, the talking over the walkie-talkie. All those things were necessary to have the angels back for a second episode. Because the one thing that worked in the Blink episode, just the angels being there, being a threat in our minds, wouldn't have worked just that for a second episode. So I'm glad that they kind of changed it up so that it was more interesting to follow, even if it were the same enemies. By the way, they're also trying to do that with every single episode that they bring the Daleks back. If you've noticed, they look like different all the time. And sometimes there are bigger changes, like the Uber Dalek or Dalek Khan. But sometimes it's just that they changed colors or looks or size or anything. But you've also heard me talking about this Dalek episodes, these reoccurring episodes, and that those things just, they don't work for so many times. You can change up their size and their color, but it doesn't change what they are and what you can do with him. And at some time, the stories are all told. The things you can write into like an alien being like the Dalek is, they're told. I know they're gonna be there forever and ever. I know that already, but you know what I mean, right? I just wanted to make a comparison between the angels, where they really changed things so that the enemies could work another time, and for the Daleks that reappear every single time with little changes that really don't change much, and then the episode just seems like, yeah, you know, that's what I mean. Thank you so much for this question, Stephen. It was very interesting to talk about this for another time. And by the way, did I answer your question? So, summary, I am kind of undecisive, to be honest, because on the one hand, I don't really like inconsistencies if I notice them. But on the other hand, they were necessary to create this two-parter as another interesting storyline. Because if they hadn't, this episode would have been, I don't know, it wouldn't have been what it was. That's my answer. I hope it's okay that I do not have like a real 100% yes or no answer for that one. Sometimes it's complicated. The next question, also from Steven, is was there a moment when you suddenly realized that you loved or really liked this doctor? So let's get into the characters already. And the first one we're going to talk about is the Mad Doctor. And, okay, was there a moment where I suddenly, out of the blue, knew I loved or liked this doctor? Short answer to that. And I think some people might hate me after telling you, but there wasn't really. There wasn't this aha moment. It didn't exist in this series. And what I do think about the Mad Doctor at the moment is I really like him as a doctor. He's a great actor. He can portray like every single thing that an actor for the Doctor needs. He looks like perfect for the role. He can portray anger and he can play the funny scenes. He can be sad. Like when he looks sad, I just all of a sudden, I mean, he feels like in the moments where he's like disappointed and he's really, really sad, he feels like a puppy with those puppy dog eyes, and he's like, "Mm." And I'm like, oh, because he can really portray those emotions very well. But I feel, even though I really like him as an actor, that I am not super close to his character, or not as close as I was to David. And I think the problem for me here is that David is really like the Doctor for me. Like if we're talking about the series that I've already seen, like he is the Doctor. And everything that comes after that, or everyone, is another Doctor. If you know what I mean, this is very, very hard for me to explain, but I really felt that David was the Doctor for me. It is him. And Matt is also a really, really good one. And I liked him in every single episode. I really did. But it's not the attachment that I wish I had with him. That, like, for example, when I watched the series with the David Doctor, in every single episode, and you can go back to every single episode, the first moment that David appears in every single one, the first time I see him in an episode, I'm starting to smile. I'm just like, hi, David. I'm so happy just because he's in it. All of a sudden, it's like, yes, this is Doctor Who. And with Matt, it's like, oh, I'm happy that he's here. Let's see what he's going to do. It's not this, oh, I really do not want to lose him. I mean, I do want another series with him, don't get me wrong, because I do want to get attached more than I am right now. But it didn't click yet. That's what I want to say. I didn't have that moment yet. But what I do want to point out is what I've read in YouTube comments and also in Patreon comments, that people were saying this actor is so perfect because he can like portray a very old soul, which the Doctor is because he's over 900 years old, and a very young character at the same time. I don't know what it is about his face, but that's so true. It's so, so true. He is so young, the youngest Doctor there has ever been up until this point, but you can feel the old soul inside of him. And I think that is what he really does better than the David Doctor. That's one thing that's really positive for me, that stands out very positive. And I think if he'd die tomorrow in the next episode, I'd be super sad. But it wouldn't be the same as with David. Yet. Who knows what will happen? I hope you're not too disappointed. I know there are so many Mad Doctor fans out there. And I really do understand you because, as I said, he's such a great actor and he's perfect for this character. He does everything that he does so well. And I really buy into every single emotion that he's trying to sell me. I really like him as a character, but I don't love him. That's my result. Of all of this babbling, like him, but do not love him. I hope that answers your question well enough. And the last one is, and also, do you like River yet? Or are you still waiting to see what unfolds? So, also a really good question. Thank you for that one. And River. For those of you who've already seen the finale episode, which I think many of you already did, in the very first one, when she bought that, what was it called? Vortex manipulator, I had the impression that she may be evil now. That she may, like, betray us all, kill each and every single one of us, or at least try to, and that she is the reason for why this crack existed in the first place. She did something on purpose and she made this happen because she did want to hurt the Doctor. That was what I thought in the first part of the finale. I didn't want to think that, but the thought just popped up in my head because I didn't trust her 100%. And up until this point, I mean, my perception changed completely for the second part. As soon as I got explained what a vortex manipulator was by my patrons, and I was like, oh, it's just to travel around in time. And Jack uses it as well, so it's not a really dangerous thing to have, and she couldn't actually kill the Doctor with it. So, well, maybe she's not evil. So I changed perceptions, and I believed she was on our side, which she was in the end. So much for the trust part. As a character, I really like her. And I think liking her kind of on the same level than I do like the Doctor, maybe a little less, but I like her. And I like seeing her again. Also, I really love what they are doing with her character. She's like this inconsistent consistency in the show, if you know what I mean. She's always there. We know she exists, but she's not in every single episode. She's just in this episode, and then this episode, and then back again sometime, and then she's gone. And you almost forget about her, then she's suddenly back. She's like, I really love that. It's this consistent story, and we already, as a viewer, know that there is also a future for the Doctor and her, because, spoilers, like, that's her expression that she always uses, and she's always talking about the time when. Next time we meet, nothing will be the same anymore. That's what she said the last time that we saw her, and we already know there is more to the story, which is very unusual for a show to do that, like the foreshadowing, this on-point foreshadowing. And I love what they are doing with her character. They're not getting rid of her, but she's not always present for us as a viewer. So I really like that idea. Inconsistent consistency. And as a character, there are several things that I do also like about her character. I really do like, for example, that she understands the Doctor. Every single time he talks about something that I have absolutely no idea of, She's like, yeah, I know. And then she's also completing sentences for him or thinking in advance, helping him to get to a solution. She's always on the same level if it comes to understanding what time traveling, the TARDIS, and everything is all about. And I really like that for the Doctor as well, because he has somebody he can talk to, and the other person really understands and also gives back knowledge to him. Also, I love the way that she behaves when she's in dangerous situations, and you might think she could die, but she's like, yeah, well, I'm totally relaxed because I know we're going to get out of the situation. Spoiler, I'm already aware that I'm going to live in the future and that we're going to do this and that. So I'm really not afraid. And we can like win every single situation that we're in. It's not bad. She's like never too worried about situations, and I like that about her. She brings this positivity to the whole thing. When the Doctor and the companions are totally in total disbelief about them being able to get through the situations, she's like, yeah, we'll find a solution. So I really like that about her as well. And also, she's such a quirky and funny person sometimes. The way she banters with the Doctor, I really like that. So every time I see her, I know the episode is going to have fun parts in it as well. Although I have to say, I really like the bantering between the Doctor and Amy even more. But having all of them in one episode is the best. So those are the things that I do like about her character. But there is one thing that I don't like about her, and then there are doubts. I already explained my doubts because we do not know very much about her. We do not really, she doesn't really talk about anything that she's been going through. She doesn't talk about the future other than spoilers, and especially what really makes me doubt her as a person, or what makes her, in my eyes, kind of mysterious in a way that I would not want her to be mysterious, is the one sentence she said once about her having killed a very, very good man. And I know just 100%, I know that this is the Doctor. She's talking about the Doctor, and you can convince me otherwise. She is talking about the Doctor. Period. So I know one day she's going to hurt and also to kill him. This is why I don't trust her, and this is what I don't like about her, and at the same time like about her, because it's mysterious, and I like mysteries, and I like solving puzzles. And I'm always thinking about how it might happen. My solution is, so far, is that there is something happening with the universe, with the planet Earth, with something that has to stay alive in the eyes of the Doctor. And the Doctor does need to sacrifice himself in order to achieve whatever, to save whoever. And she is the one, because the Doctor can't do it by himself, but she is the one who has to do it for him. So it is not going to be a bad intent. She's not going to be evil, I guess, but she's going to kill him anyways. So I'm indecisive when it comes to whether she's a good or a bad person yet, but I'm really hoping she is a good person, and the circumstances will just push her to do what she already told us she will do in the future. And the other thing that I do not like about her, and this is something that I really do not like about her, sometimes I'm thinking every single episode in which she was in, it comes to this point, to a scene where she explains something about time traveling or the TARDIS or anything else to the Doctor in a way that couldn't be any cockier. She's like, yeah, I know how you could open the TARDIS by doing this. And I knew this already. I really don't know why you didn't know that. Or when she explains stuff, how the TARDIS works. Yeah, I do know that. I know. Maybe you do not know, Doctor, but I do. And I don't know. It's just the way she's explaining things to the Doctor that seems so cocky to me that I really don't like. But that's the only thing that is kind of negative when I think about River, like at all. That's the only thing. She shouldn't be as cocky as she is sometimes. She should be a little more humble if it comes to knowledge that she has, but nobody else does. And I kind of understand why she is the personality that she is, because she already went through all this stuff and she has such a big presence and such a big self-confidence that maybe she has no other way to talk about things that she knows but others don't. But I sometimes just wish she were a little more humble than she is sometimes. Yeah, that's my opinion on River. Thank you so much, Stephen, for your questions. And before we get into the ratings of the episode, I want to talk about our two other characters real quick that we have seen in like main characters in this series, which is Rory and Amy. And I really liked the addition of those characters. Amy is like one of my most favorite companions for a doctor like ever. I mean, Donna is still my favorite one, don't get me wrong here, and I guess like the David Doctor, she'll always be up there, very, very far. But Amy is so funny, she's so kind, she's so caring, loving, and the banter with Doctor is super funny all the time. And she also developed so much in the series. I mean, she had the biggest development if we start at the beginning of her story when she was just a little kid sitting on her suitcase in the garden waiting for the doctor. Oh my god, she was so cute. And she was so curious. She wanted to travel with the doctor. Like, unlike the other companions that the doctor already had, she was the one that knew him as a child, and she dreamt so much about him coming back, and she made this scribble stuff. She wrote stories about the doctor. She made this little figurines and everything. She really wanted to meet him again. So she had a very big development getting where she's now. And what I really love about her character is the ability in a very stressful situation to stay as calm as needed, to get the doctor back down to earth, like not speak in a literal sense, but if he's in a situation, a stressful one, for him it's very easy to lose himself in it, and he starts thinking solution, I need a solution, and he's caught up in this logical process. Sometimes it's just a merry-go-round, he doesn't get anywhere, and she's like, snap out of it, doctor, and she can bring him back down to earth if needed. Because sometimes it's not all about the mathematical solutions. Sometimes it's about people. Sometimes it's about emotions, like we've seen in this one episode where with the Daleks, where the one guy, robot guy, had this bomb on his chest and they needed to calm him down in order to defuse the bomb. There was no mathematic needed, but there were feelings and emotions needed. And that's where she's really strong. Also, the beast below in this episode, wonderful. The speech that she had with the doctor afterwards. And I feel she's really understanding him as far as she can, because he doesn't tell her everything. He never does to any person. I think the only one who might really know him for what he is, that could be River. But the other people, not really. But she really does a great job, like reading his facial expressions and getting what he's thinking about and how he's feeling. And she really does a great job with that. I think she really sees him. And that's why she's also able to talking into things or out of things if needed. And in addition to that, she also has the ability to stay very calm herself in situation in which she has to stay calm and think. She's not the one to panic. And if she panics, she still has some kind of sense and she's still thinking about solutions. Even if she's under pressure, she's always thinking about solutions in her head. For example, what comes to my mind is the Angels two-parter, where she's standing in this container and the door is shut. She cannot escape. She has to look in the angel. The doctor is telling her what she can do, and she is so calm. If I were on her place in this scene, I would have freaked out, I guess, and died right then and there. But she stayed so super calm, even if it was extremely dangerous for her. But she knew she had to listen to what the doctor says. And then later on in the episode where she was blind and the doctor led her through all of those statues, oh my gosh, that's wonderfully done. Also really like the focus on her in several episodes, as for example Amy's Choice. I enjoyed that episode, but we're gonna get to that. I enjoyed the focus on her and on her possible life outcomes, the one with Rory, the one with the doctor, and what is she going to pick. I'm a little bit sad that it wasn't up to her in the end, because the choice kind of got taken away from her because of the fact that in one world Rory died and she didn't want him to be dead, so she picked the other world. I would have loved to see a real decision for her at the end where she's like, yeah, I really have to decide whether I want the doctor or Rory, with either of them still being alive. But yeah, was a fun episode either way. And I love that they gave her that episode. As well as in the very first one, she had a really big part in it. And the episodes in which we focused on her were really good. Because she's a character that has much to offer, I feel like. And also, I really loved how over the length of just 12 episodes, she got from being a little child to being a woman that lost her boyfriend, having to mourn him or forgetting about him in the first place, then re-knowing him, then marrying him, and then being a companion with the doctor again, having Rory by her side. The stuff that she went through, unbelievable. That's very crazy. But I loved seeing that. And I think the development for the relationship between her and Rory now is like finished. I really hope we will see them as a trio in the first, at least in the first episodes of series 6 as well. Until the episode when River comes back and nothing is as it was before. So up until that point, I do want to see those three travel around in time. And Rory also, great character, great addition to the cast. And he's a fun character. Sometimes I wish they showed him a little more, because every time he talks, he's really funny. He has this ability to have a straight face, but at the same time, making jokes that are so dry that you really have to laugh. And also he's so clumsy, and he talks in situations where he shouldn't talk, and he's just saying the wrong things, like in the episode with the aliens. And Amy's always like, yeah, shut up, don't do this, do what I tell you. And she's always commanding him around. I really love that. So he was a really cool addition to the already great Amy character, and also in this trio overall. So overall, great series. Which brings us to the next chapter of this video. Now we're going to look into the episodes and you will find out how I am ranking them. Okay, so we are going to start with the episodes that I didn't like that much. And then we're going to get to the episodes that I did like very much. So the very first one, and the episode that I liked the least out of all of them in series 6, the two-parter, the Hungry Earth and Cold Blood. This wasn't my episode. This wasn't my two-parter. It had funny parts in it. It had a really great ending in the second part, like the last 5 minutes in which Rory died and disappeared. But the rest of it, it just wasn't my story. I don't say it's bad, but I didn't connect with it as much. Also, it had inconsistencies that I don't know. For usually, if there are inconsistencies in a story, I do mostly overlook them, not notice them on my first watch, or I really don't care because the story was really well written and I'm just here for the fun of it and to enjoy them. But with this episode, I don't know, it didn't stick right with me. I can't help myself. But let's get to number 10. Yeah. What a surprise! The Dalek episode. Yeah. I don't think I have to say too much about this episode. I already talked about the use of the Daleks and how they are like changing, not enough for me to find them very interesting after having seen them for the like six, seven, eight times. I don't even remember how many episodes we've had with the Daleks. And I know we're going to see them again. I really hope that someday they're going to write a more interesting story for them, but this wasn't the one. This wasn't the episode for me. It didn't really. I mean, even when I was editing the episode, I was like, yeah, I hope I'm finished soon because I didn't even want to go through it for the second time. I'm very sorry for the Daleks. I like the Churchill bits, like that we have seen him and the history part, but wasn't mine. Okay, let's get to number 9. The Beast Below. Maybe some of you will be very surprised about this one. Maybe, I don't know. Some were writing comments about how they really liked the episode. Others were like, yeah, I don't really know, or I don't really like it. For me, it was, I don't know. I really liked certain parts of the episode, like for example, the part where you sit in front of the computer and you take this like test where you get asked the questions, and then you later on you can choose whether you want to forget the information and go on with your life, or just like what was the other solution? See, I already forgot the part. I'm so sorry, but I liked this decision part, of which I forgot 50%. Oh my gosh, my brain sometimes, but it's already late. And the other part that I liked was the monster and the solution that they took with the episode, where they were like, no, it's really not a monster, and it wasn't necessary for us to like restrain it and use it and exploit it for energy so that we can live. It was there to help us in the first place, and we just tortured it all the time. So yeah, I liked those aspects of the show, but on the other hand, I don't know. I kind of forgot parts already that were in it, and that's always like a bad sign that I wasn't super interested into the episode. But yeah, it is what it is, and I'm sorry for every single one who loves the episode, but it wasn't mine. Okay, and that's it already for the episodes that I didn't like, because every single other episode is one of my favorite episodes, and that is so rare. Or, to be honest, that never happened. Never in another series. I have had so many episodes that I really, really liked and that I put in my favorite episodes thing. Part. Okay, let's get to the first one. The Vampires of Venice. I liked this story. I really did. And it was something different because it had this mythology part of the vampires. But then again, just when we thought, oh, this is a vampire story, they just changed it up completely. And the vampires suddenly were like alien fish. that, that was really funny. I like the characters in this one. I like this light-hearted feeling of the episode. I like the confusion. I like that it didn't make sense at all. somehow I don't know. It just felt like an adventure that I enjoyed while watching, and it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be the best written story ever for me to be able to enjoy it. I just enjoyed it. Not more nor not less. It was a fun episode for me. Okay, the next one is the Christmas episode. And I've seen it 1 week ago, and I really, really enjoyed this one. It had such a Christmassy vibe to it. It was so lovely. It was well written. The actress that sang, which, by the way, I got a comment on Patreon and said that this actress is actually a singer, and that is why her voice is so beautiful. And you could tell that she didn't do that for the very first time. She was great. And it brought me to tears, her singing. Also, the story about this little boy slash old man. It was so tragic. But I enjoyed it from start to finish. It was one of those episodes that were like a train that picks you up at the station and it doesn't let you go until you're arriving at your final destination of like the train, and you get out, and then I don't even know where I'm going with this story, but I just want to let you know that this story just took me with it, and I forgot everything around me. And I just noticed that I am where and who I am when the story was finished. I was so invested in it, which is very, very unusual for me to be invested that much in an episode that's not even a finale episode. And I already liked the calmer feeling of the episode after having a very dramatic and very chaotic final episode. This was just so mellow and so everything is fine. I mean, there is a problem, but we're gonna solve it all. And then again, it had this drama and it had the sadness in the end. It also had the time travel stuff in it that I enjoyed so much. We again had a story where we played with time and traveling back and forth that worked really well for me, but it wasn't as chaotic as it was in the finale. It was just the right amount of drama, the right amount of mellowness, the right amount of being Christmassy. Like everything was just perfect with this Christmas episode. I liked it very, very much. Number 6, the 11th hour. And some of you may be surprised with this one because of the fact that when I watched the episode like originally for the first time, I didn't really like it as much. But many of you were already telling me in the comments under the video that maybe I should go back when I am further into the story of the Mad Doctor and I have like forgotten about the David Doctor, that I should go back and I would enjoy the episode more. And it's really, it's true. If you, or I'm talking for myself now, when I was at the ending of series 5 and I rewatched the episode, I did like it more than when I watched it for the first time. And I enjoyed the first interactions with the Doctor and with Amy because I could like concentrate on them and not being sad all the time because David wasn't there anymore. So it felt like a totally different story and I could enjoy it so much more than for the first time. And also, she looks so young on this picture. Oh my gosh, is it the hair that's gone? But she looks so much younger. She looks like she's 12. I enjoyed the episode so much. Well, if you leave out all the eyes in the episode, because I still don't like them, and I never will. But the story between Amy and the Doctor, really great. I really like this story now. And that is also funny to think about, that there are stories that you watch for the first time and you have a completely different mindset for them as when you watch them like further into the series, and if you know the characters already and you go back to watch the episode, it's totally different sometimes. Some episodes are just the same, no matter at what time you watch them, or if you watch them for the first, second, third time, I don't know. It's also different for me with another episode that we're gonna get to, where the more I watch it or think about it, the better it gets. And this is one of them. So let's get to number 5. The Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone. Like I said before, I don't want to talk about this too much now because I've already talked about it while talking about the angels and stuff. But I really enjoyed what they did with the episode in terms of they brought back an enemy, but they changed it up so that it could work for a second time, even if the enemy on screen doesn't deliver very much because it's a statue that doesn't do anything. But they changed it up so that it became a threat again. And I like the atmosphere. I like this cave. I like the darkness. Also, when they open this one door and you can see the forest under the earth, looked so wonderful, really beautiful. And the suspense when Amy couldn't see, or this scene especially when she was standing in that thing and the doctor screaming from the outside what she has to do. It was really well done. I enjoyed it from start to finish and I like it very much. Also, another episode with a changed perception of mine if I rewatch it, because now I do know things about it that I didn't know or notice while I watched it for the first time. But I already talked about that and don't want to talk about it again. So let's get to number 4. Amy's Choice. Oh my gosh, that episode was such a great one. I enjoyed it so much. The idea alone of a Dream Lord and this parallel universe, this parallel world, or worlds, plural, in which Amy was our main protagonist. And those two very different worlds that showed us as a viewer as well what kind of choice she really has, because she could go with Rory. She could have had a baby with him and a family, but she could also travel with the doctor. Maybe that's also something that I have already thought about, because if you, as a viewer, you can tell me there isn't one viewer who watches the show and has never thought about the possibility of a TARDIS popping up in the garden and whether he or she would like go with the doctor or not. And if you do that, if you think about whether you would do it or not, you're like thinking about the same things that Amy has to think about in this episode. You're having to make a choice, even if it's not real, you're just thinking about it, but you would have the choice to go on with your normal life or to change it up completely for a more dangerous but more fun, more interesting life than the one you're having right now. So that was a very interesting episode while watching and also while thinking about it afterwards, because of what I have done. And like I said before, the only thing that I was a little bit sad about was that in the end it wasn't a real choice for Amy, because like I said, she chose the world in which Rory was still alive. She didn't choose the world she would have really picked if everyone was still alive. I would have loved seeing that, but other than that, fantastic episode, so much fun. And also the old people that were walking around in this town, they were freaking me out, because there is something about either little kids or old people that if you turn them evil, it's just it just creeps me out. I don't know what it is. They're so I don't know. I can't tell you, but that's what it is. They're freaking me out, period. So, episode number 3, and now it gets, let me tell you that the decision that I made for the last 4 to 5 also episodes was super hard this time, because I have so many favorites in this one and I couldn't really decide what episode to put on which place. It was super hard. I made a choice in the end, Nicole's choice. But I couldn't promise you that tomorrow I don't like see totally different again, because for me they're all on place number one. But I couldn't do that, so I had to decide. Let's get to number 3. Look at this face. Already I see this face. I start crying, like almost. Do I need to say much about this one? It's just, I am lost for words with this one. And also, I was talking about an episode before that I saw for the first time, and I had a totally different perception when I saw it for the second time. And I said there was another one, which was the very same, and that's this one. Seen it for the first time, and it was super emotional. But having read the Patreon comments about this episode, and it's going to be on YouTube this week, and understanding the real impact of the episode and the real meaning, for example, behind the monster, that it represents the depression of Van Gogh, that it's always present, and in the end he fights it, and he tries to fight the depression, and the doctor and Amy believe, or at least Amy believes, they made a change for his life. He fought the depression and he's able to move on, and then to find out that he wasn't, after everything he's experienced with them. Like this scene alone was worth watching the episode. I cried so much, and I think it's one of the rare occasions in Doctor Who or in any TV show ever where I really cried out of the feeling of being happy, not sad, but crying happy tears. That doesn't happen to me very often. I'm crying a lot when I'm sad, but I don't when I'm happy. And I really didn't know whether to be happy or sad if I think about it now, because it was a very happy scene, but a very sad one at the same time. I'm very conflicted when it comes to that. The only thing I know, it touched me very, very much. In my heart, it really warmed my heart, and seeing this man's face and knowing what he went through in this show, and also knowing that Van Gogh is an actual person that existed. And I mean, he didn't know the doctor back then, but he had a very tragic life as well. He took his own life. He cut his ear. He didn't believe in his paintings. He wasn't the man like the artist that lived with the kings and was super rich and everything. He was just a poor man who tried painting, and things happened to him. So knowing that the background story of this is true, and now having read about his background story as well, because when I watched the episode originally, I only knew that he like killed himself, but I didn't really know much else about him. Now I do know, which also I love about Doctor Who. It's always giving me those episodes where I'm like, I need to know more about that person. I know it exists, or it existed in reality. I do want to know more. And I'm starting to read into the matter, and this was one of them. I really wanted to know how his life really was, and it was very tragic, very sad. So every time I go back watching this episode, I start crying like way before this scene already. While editing it for YouTube, I was like a sobbing mess. And this episode means so much more to me than it meant to me after having watched it for the very first time. I really love it very dearly now. I do. So it's on third place. And now you think, oh, I was praising this episode so much, so what other episode could be even better than that? And it may be a surprise. And maybe some of you would not agree with me. And I know that already because I've already read the Patreon comments on that one. And yeah, not many people were as enthusiastic as I was for this episode, but I don't care. It was super funny. And even though I know that the actor that plays in this episode is not very liked anymore. At least in America and in the UK, I don't think the people all around the world do not like him anymore, but the people who know about him do not like him anymore, I guess. But apart from that, I just watched the episode for what it was, and it was just super, super funny. The way that it was shot, this fun, and I know that picture doesn't represent very much fun, to be honest, but it was such a funny episode in itself. I laughed so, so much. Like every 2 minutes, there was something I could laugh about. It was just fun from start to finish. And yeah, sometimes in between the episode, there was some horror, and the solution wasn't the best one. I know this, whatever it was in the second floor, that the alien thingy, whatever, wasn't the best enemy of it all, but the feeling that I had throughout the episode was pure happiness. And this is why I love this episode so much. And I do have to like edit this one for YouTube for next week, and I'm already looking forward to it, which is always a sign for me. If I'm looking forward to editing an episode, I really love it, because I hate editing so, so much. I hate it. I would upload so many more videos if I didn't have to edit them, but I have to, so yeah. Back to the topic. I can't wait to edit this one, because I can then rewatch it, and I already wanted to revisit this one. I do want to laugh. I do want to feel the feeling again that it gave me while watching it for the very first time. So this is on number 2. And then the rest is not a surprise anymore. It's the 2 finale episodes. And what I do have to say about this is that I was really thinking about this time separating the finale episodes, because I think that the gap between the first and the second finale episode is so big that I really was thinking about putting the first episode like on a lower rating than the second one. But I decided to keep them together just because it makes sense. It's one story, and I see it as one story. And the second part, do I need to say anymore? I mean, you have seen the finale. I praised this episode so, so much. It made everything right that it could. It was such this, like I described it, it was the essence of what the show is supposed to be and what it's supposed to do. That's it. That's all I need to say about this episode. It had everything, and it worked so well. It had a great cast. It had a great writing. It had a great atmosphere. It had a really great speech from the Doctor in it. It had those surprising moments in it. It had those twists and turns in the story. It had that fun, that time traveling stuff, like everything. It just had everything. And I really, really want to go back and edit this second episode for YouTube, because I really want to go and rewatch it. Also, that screenshot, A+. Okay, so this is it. This is my wrap-up video for Series 5. Again, I hope that I really answered many of your questions, even if you had no chance to write them to me. And I'm very, very sorry for that. I really hope for Series 6 it's gonna be a little bit better. But if I have no time, I'd rather have a little shorter video, but I really don't think it was much shorter than usual. But I'd rather have a shorter video than no video whatsoever. And I think you're the same. So this is it. This is the finale video. Or maybe let me know in the comments down below. Maybe I in the future can make like 2 wrap-up videos, which one would be like a video like this one, where I talk about the series in general, and I talk about each and every single episode and about the characters. And then 1 week later, a second video in which I only do Q&As. So that would mean a break of 2 weeks from Doctor Who episodes. Let me know in the comments down below whether you would like that, or whether you really want a break for only 1 week and then go on with the story. Maybe I'm gonna do a poll on YouTube for future series, but let me know in the comments down below what you think. Maybe there is already an emotion that I can grasp from your comments, and that will lead me to my future way. And now at the end of this episode, just let me give you a little surprise that next week you are going to get 2 videos of Doctor Who on 2 different days, one on Friday and one regular one on Saturday. This is all I'm going to say, just so you know, you're going to get 2 videos, and I really hope you're looking forward to it. I do. I will see each and every single one of you next week with the surprise episode on Friday. Until then, have a nice day, and let me know your thoughts about the series in the comments down below. I will see each and every single one of you on Friday. Until then, bye!